Hi guys and girls, today we're going to talk about median, which is the middle or midpoint of a set of data. And in order to do that, it's really important to make sure that you take your data and put it in order from least to greatest. So I've already done that with my data on the wall behind me. It's my fake smartboard since we are still in quarantine here. And if you take a look at the data, it looks pretty much the same, except my first piece of data, I have an even set of numbers, which means that I have 10 pieces of data, so an even set. My second set of numbers, I have only 9 pieces of data, so I have an odd set of data. And I did that because I want to show you the difference that makes when you're looking for your median. So I'm comparing name lengths here with my set of data as we've been doing in Investigation 1. This is Investigation 1.3 in Data About Us. If I take a look at my first set of data here, I want to find the median of these 10 name lengths, and I have them in order from least to greatest. 4 is my least and 9 is my greatest. So if you have this written down on a piece of paper, one thing that you've probably done in elementary school is made some X's or slash marks through this data from least to greatest and then back again least to greatest. So I'm just going to use my hands here and say least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, and I have it narrowed down between these two for my median. So in between these two numbers is where my median would fall. And I'm going to have to decide what that median is. Now, some students say, oh, there's 2 medians. Some students would pick 6. Some students would pick 7. The thing is, median can only be one number. I can't just choose 6 or 7. The median is the exact middle, the midpoint of the data. So what I'm going to have to do is think about what number comes between 6 and 7. Some students have a hard time figuring this out. So if I had $6 and $7, what would be in between that monetary amount? $6.50. So 6.5 would come between 6 and 7. And I can write that with the fraction, or I can write that as a decimal. Okay? Now, since I had an even number of data, it turned out that my median had to be right in the middle of that data, and it had to be a number that wasn't really in my data set. So let's see what happens now with an odd piece of data. So this time I only have 9 pieces of data, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the top set of data. This time I'm going to go least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest. And this time my median is actually one of the numbers in the set of data right here. If I want to double check if I did that right, I could repeat the process, or I could say to myself, okay, this is my median. I'm actually going to cover it up for a minute here and count how many numbers are on this side of the median. 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many numbers are on this side of the median? 1, 2, 3, 4. And that tells me that it's right in the middle because there's 4 pieces of data on each side of that median. Okay? Now, let's take a look at what happens if I even this out a little bit. I'm going to add another piece of data to my bottom set here. So I actually have 10 pieces of data for each set, and I want to talk about what happens if I add another piece of data to the set, and especially where that piece of data would go. So if I'm looking at this now and I say I'm going to add Mia to my first set of data, and Mia only has 3 letters in her name, so she's going to go way over here in the very beginning on the left side of my data. What do you think would happen to my median? Do you think it would stay where it's at? Do you think that my median would move closer to the left side? Or do you think my median would move closer to the right side? Let's try it and see. So I'm going to repeat the same process. I'm going to cover up least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest. And this time my median moves over just a little bit to the left. So it's not 6.5 anymore, it's 6. So what happened this time is, since I have an odd number of data now, I have 11 pieces of data, I actually have a median that's in the data, and it moved my median over this way toward the data that I added. So let's try this again. And this time I'm going to add a piece of data to the right side. I'm going to add Christopher, who has 11 letters in his name. And since I added it to the right side of our data, I'm thinking that my median is probably going to move over to the right side a little bit. So let's see what happens this time. Least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest. So we were at 6, and now we're going to move our median over one spot to the 7, which is closer to the right side, which is where we added our data. So just by moving the median over one way or the other, by adding data to one side or the other, it moves our median over to one side or the other. You could also balance it out by adding data to both sides. So for example, if I had this 3 here for Mia, and I added the 11 up top to the same data, if you remember when we started, our median was 6.5. So now that I added data to both sides, let's see if we get 6.5 again, okay? So least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest. Here we are, right in between 6 and 7. So since I added data to both ends, that's going to make my median right back where we started again, okay? So pretty cool to see. You could experiment with all different kinds of numbers. You can make some conjectures. If you added 2 numbers to the right of your data, would that move your median to the right? What if you added 2 numbers to the right and 3 to the left? Would it move your median to the left? It's pretty cool to play around with the numbers and see what happens, make some conjectures, maybe challenge some people at home, ask them what they think. You could even maybe make some friendly bets with some of your siblings, like, hey, if I get this right, you have to fold my laundry tonight. See what happens. Okay, it was good to see you, and hopefully all is well. And remember that I care about you, and stay healthy.